Welcome to Top 10s, and in this video we're going to be covering the Bioshock timeline, starting with Bioshock 1. Bioshock 1 was released in 2007 and is a first-person shooter game developed by 2K Boston. Bioshock is a first-person shooter with role-playing customization and stealth elements, and is similar to System Shock 2. The player takes the role of Jack as he is guided through Rapture towards various objectives. The player collects multiple weapons and plasmids as they work their way through enemy forces. The player can switch between one active weapon and one active plasmid at any time, allowing them to find combination attacks that can be effective against certain enemies, such as first shocking a splicer, then striking them down with a wrench. Weapons are limited by the ammunition that the player collects. Many weapons have secondary ammo types that can be used instead for additional benefits, such as bullets that inflict fire damage. Plasmid use consumes a serum called Eve, which can be restored using Eve syringes collected by the player or by consuming cigarettes and alcohol. The player has a health meter that decreases when they take damage. The player can restore their health with food or medical packs, found throughout Rapture. If the player health is reduced to 0, they will be regenerated at the last Vita chamber that they passed with limited amounts of health and Eve. The plot of the game goes like this. In 1960, the protagonist Jack is a passenger on a plane that crashes in the Atlantic Ocean. The only survivor, Jack, makes his way to the nearby lighthouse. Inside is a bathysphere that takes him into the Rapture. Jack is contacted via radio by Atlas, who helps guide him through the ruined city. Atlas requests Jack's help in saving his family, who he says are in a docked bathysphere. When Jack first encounters the Little Sisters, Atlas urges him to kill them to harvest their atom. Dr. Bridget Tenenbaum intervenes and insists Jack should spare them, providing him with a plasmid that he can remove the sea slug from their bodies and free them of their brainwashing. Jack works his way to the bathysphere, but Ryan destroys it before Jack can reach it. Infuriated, Atlas has Jack fight his way through various districts toward Ryan's lair, forcing Jack to contend with the Rapture's deranged citizens along the way, such as the surgical doctor J.S. Steinman and artist and musician Sander Cohen. Jack enters Ryan's office. Ryan reveals the truth of Jack's origins. He is actually Ryan's illegitimate son, sold by Ryan's mistress as an embryo to Fontaine, who had Tenenbaum and Sukong rapidly age Jack into adulthood and turn into an obedient assassin, capable of accessing any of Rapture's systems, locked to Ryan's genetic code, and thus ensure Fontaine's victory in the war. Jack was smuggled to the surface with false memories of a normal life, waiting to be called back to Rapture when needed. Ryan takes control of Jack's actions by asking, "Would you kindly?" a phrase that has preceded to many of Atlas' commands as a hypnotic trigger, forcing him to follow any orders without question. Jack also realizes he was responsible for the plane crash, having read a letter on board containing the same trigger phase. Bioshock received universal acclaim according to Metacritic, giving a score of 96 out of 100. For the second spot on our timeline, we have Bioshock 2. Bioshock 2 is released on February 9th, 2010. Bioshock 2 is a first-person shooter. The player assumes the character of Subject Delta 8 years after the events of Bioshock. The player explores Rapture and fights off splicers using weapons, environmental hazards, and plasmids. Plasmids grant powers such as telekinesis and must be recharged with Eve before further use. The player can equip tonics, passive bonuses varying from increased speed to reduced Eve usage. Several weapons in Bioshock 2 are unique to the Big Daddy, including a powerful drill and a rivet gun. Unlike in Bioshock, the player can use each weapon in a close-range melee attack and may simultaneously equip a weapon and a plasmid. If the player is killed, they are revived via Vita chambers. Players scavenge ammunitions and supplies as they explore Rapture, and may purchase items at vending machines scattered throughout the city. Weapons can be looted with various types of ammunition for greater effectiveness against certain types of foes. They can also be upgraded at certain machines. 3 cumulative upgrades enable a special weapon effect. For example, the modified rivet gun shoots superheated projectiles that ignite enemies. Bioshock 2 begins on New Year's Eve, 1958. Subject Delta, a Big Daddy, patrols Rapture with his little sister Eleanor. Sophia Lamb, Eleanor's mother, separates the pair and forces Delta to kill himself. Delta awakens in 1968, resurrected by a little sister under Eleanor's direction. Delta is informed by Bridget Tenenbaum, the custodian of the rehabilitated little sisters. That's because he has a psychological bond with Eleanor. He will die unless he finds her. Helped by Tenenbaum's ally, Augustus Sinclair, Delta makes his way to Eleanor, who is trapped in Sophia Lamb's stronghold. Lamb plans to use Adam to transfer the minds and memories of all Rapture's inhabitants into Eleanor to create a selfless leader. Traveling through the city, Delta encounters members of Lamb's Rapture family and can choose whether to kill or spare them. Bioshock 2 received positive reviews, although not as warm as that of its predecessor. Metacritic gave it a score of 88 out of 100. Last up on the Bioshock timeline, we have Bioshock Infinite. Bioshock Infinite was released on March 26, 2013. Bioshock Infinite is a first-person shooter with role-playing elements. Infinite adapts the gameplay formula of Bioshock with weapons, powers, and upgrades, often functioning similar as those in the earlier game. The player may carry only 2 weapons at a time and can collect other weapons and ammunition from defeated enemies or the environment. In addition to guns and melee attacks, the player can use superpower bestowing vigors. These include the ability to shoot lightning, disable enemies by launching them into the air, or controlling enemies or machines. Vigors can also be laid on the ground as traps. Vigors require salt, the equivalent of magic points, to power the abilities. Booker has health and a damage absorbing shield. The shield automatically regenerates out of combat, while health must be replenished with medical kits or food. If Booker dies, the player revives in a safe area at the cost of money, while local enemies are also potentially healed. Items called gear grant passive abilities that can improve the player's strength or damage resistance. A piece of gear attaches to one of 4 slots. Only one piece of gear can be affixed to a slot at a time, with extras stored in the player's inventory. Player attributes can also be improved by finding infusions, which upgrade the player's shield, health, or salt meters. In July 1912, Booker DeWitt arrives in Columbia, where he is pursued by authorities, who recognize him as a prophesized false shepherd who will corrupt Elizabeth and overthrow Columbia. Freeing Elizabeth from her tower, Booker narrowly evades Songbird. Commandeering an airship, Booker promises to take Elizabeth to Paris. When she realizes they're going to New York City to fulfill Booker's debts, Elizabeth knocks him out and flees. Booker awakens to find the airship under the control of Daisy Fitzroy, who offers to return the ship if Booker helps her arm the Vox Pupil. Booker and Elizabeth join forces to secure weapons from a local gunsmith. Traveling through Terrace, they arrive in the world where Booker is a Vox Pupili martyr, and open warfare has erupted in Columbia. Elizabeth kills Fitzroy to prevent her from executing a founder boy. Songbird attacks the duo as they try to flee Columbia, and their airship crashes back into the city. Elizabeth and Booker discover a conspiracy behind the city's founding. Elizabeth is Comstock's adopted daughter, whom he plans to groom into Columbia's leader after his death. Comstock killed his wife and the Luxties to hide the truth and install the siphon in Elizabeth's tower to limit her power. Bioshock Infinite received critical acclaim upon release, Metacritic giving a score of 94 out of 100. Well, that's it for the Bioshock timeline. How do we do? Let us know in the comments below, and thank you guys so much for watching.